Where do I start? To be honest, I wasn't expecting to do this video today, of course. But, when something drops onto YouTube that is related to something my channel is going to be talking about, duty calls.
Roger, roger.
The bombshell that decided to be uploaded today, which I'm grateful for it because hey, I now have an excuse to stop doing all my homework now and talk about this for a couple minutes.
Of course.
Is the drop of House of David Season 2. Now, before, the Season 2 that got uploaded today is set to be released in October of this year. So like always, I'll tell you a few things I can see from the top of my head. What do I think? What do I speculate? Where I think the show is gonna go. Their form of storytelling sums it up. And what elements they'll use from the Bible, what elements they won't use, or maybe just add creative liberty to it, which I love, many creators do. And this show does it in a very intriguing way. Some people disagree, but we all have to keep this in mind. And so, without further ado, let's watch together the trailer for House of David Season 2.
David, what you have done here will never be forgotten.
Literally where we left off from the other.
From this day forward, you will join the House of Saul.
Are you ready to be a commander of men? David, there's one more obstacle between you and the throne. If we do not act, you will lose everything.
The great dream is fair and compassionate.
You have my heart. You always will.
Those men who follow you into the fires of hell.
They will crown my boy today if they could.
I'm the judge. God favored me. He always has. Is it finished, Samuel?
No, Saul. It is just beginning.
You invited chaos into our home. He's a threat.
David is a danger to himself and our family. Decisions have consequences. Choose your life. We have been deceived. They tried to use you. I've been in your house the whole time. Right in front of you. No more deception that someone choose you. No.
God chose me.
And just like that, we're getting a second, more action-packed season, actually. Although the first season had its moments that I really enjoyed, I know further along in the Bible we're gonna get more battle scenes, and definitely I think that's what this second season is evoking at this point. Of course, it says October 5th, and some things that really stood out. Let's start there. Right about, well, we know we start literally after he decapitates Goliath, and that sword looks pretty big. That was actually something I was also not wondering how they would play that out, since the sword was kind of big. I mean, rock with it like a samurai sword. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with anything. I mean, later on in the other scene, it looks to be a good size for him. Where was that? Oh, there we go. Yeah, like he's holding it, I think, with just one hand, and it looks perfect for him. So I think that was just something, a little small nitpick about that, but sword fits, the sword works, and we know he gets to use it in the Bible as well. But I think he gets to use it when he's running away from Saul, and he goes to the school of the prophets, and he's given that sword along with hospitality and bread and all that. And of course, that's spoilers for maybe further along if they continue on to that point in the story of David. But I think chronologically he gets the sword then, not right now. Of course, for the show, it makes sense he has it right away because he used the weapon, so it just makes sense. Ishbel or Ishboset, that's the name I would rock, but in the show he's called Ishbel, or is it Ishbal, sorry. Him. We know he was captured or sort of saved, and then he's back, and he's running to be king. That's something I tackled in the review, which I haven't uploaded, of course, but I'm gonna say it now again. Biblically, he didn't want to be king. Never did, never wanted to, but because when everyone from the house of Saul was like eradicated, he was the only one standing, and so they rose him up to be king. Now, who rose him up? Well, it was Abner who did. And he became king for a short while, and then we know what, I don't want to spoil it, but hey, you can read it for yourself, and I'll say it right now anyway. He gets killed off, and then that's how the whole region is now under the governing power of David later on. So he gets to be king, but not for a long time. They want to dramatize it in the show, and I like it. Like I said, I'm okay if it goes off script, biblically script. And they're going to put this tension that, well, Ishbal is going to actually, later on, it shows a scene where I could actually just interpret it as Ishbal telling his father that, hey, it's David is the prophesied new king. And I think that's just straight up, how would I call that? Not hypocrisy, but he has another agenda. He wants to be king. Saul is mad, like a mad king at this point. And wouldn't it just make sense for a mad king to just relieve all his anger on someone, and then possibly those two are out of the equation and he becomes king? I think that's like the easiest interpretation I can give it at this point. The other thing I have is, yeah, him wearing armor. He fits very well into it. I think it's perfect. That's perfect. That's just, I'm gonna rock with it. The other thing is the small little shot of the tabernacle. Love to see their interpretation of that. The other thing I might have here might be this. Like, this shot is beautiful. Of course, I know the editors are just cutting certain pieces so it fits the trailer, so we don't know the context of every single scene. For sure, there's going to be someone who's going to talk about it scene by scene. But I think that's either the time he asks Saul to marry Michal, and he asks him for an impossible task, which he does, and he completes. And I think here's the thing. The way I interpret that single scene, just with that single scene, is he's coming back, he fulfilled what he was asked for, and he's just ready to marry Michal. And we know that they don't get a happy ending until like a couple books later. Or should I say a couple chapters later in Bible terms. Ah, yes. This specific scene stood out. Why? Because this could either be two things. Either Jonathan's dreaming, which is highly likely, or in that scene when they rush those two armies together to battle, I think Jonathan has the opportunity to kill the king. But he can't, because of course we know what happens right next. A couple frames later, he gets swatted. Now, keep in mind, Goliath isn't the only giant. He has, I believe, 4 other brothers. And we get to see them later on, of course, in the Bible. And David gets to kill one of the other brothers of Goliath as well. So it makes sense to have them here in this shot. But then, scrapping everything I just said, look at the background. It's on fire. So this right away tells me this is another battle where giants are involved, and where Jonathan had the closest chance to kill the king. And I'm saying the king because I totally forgot his name. Because the name of this king, I know it in Spanish, but in English, let's check. know it's gonna be the easiest name. Akis. See? Here's the thing. The names are so easy, and I just keep forgetting them. He wants, in this scene, to kill Akis, or had the chance to do it, but hey, he can't die. And you guys want another spoiler? Yeah, I think David gets... Okay, actually, I'm actually pushing... I'm basing my comment on another show, because another show that does the story of David, the story of Kings, actually shows that Akis survives a very long time. I think he survives close. I think he survives even when Solomon's alive, but not yet king, but he's still... So I think Solomon's young, but he's born, and Akis is still alive at that point. So he's going to be a very prominent villain, I think, throughout how long they want to make the show. Because, or maybe, like I said, they could scrap all that and add some creative liberty to it. I'm all for it. Okay, and definitely the last thing I want to mention is the scene in the trailer that really popped out to me, like it did for the previous trailer breakdown that I did. A scene that I feel it's almost pushing the limit of being something that should be kept biblical, or should be kept how it happened on the Bible, and maybe not manipulated as much. But of course, I'm not the one in charge. They can do whatever they want with the show, but I'm just gonna say it out loud right now. The ending scene where Saul confronts David. See, after being wrong in the past trailer breakdown, which I thought David getting injured was a dream sequence, I feel like this scene they really went for it. And it is where David, I think this is the scene where Saul throws a spear at David. I'm just saying it and it appears on screen. Yes, he has the spear there and the sword, but Saul is wearing the armor. I'm thinking, again, going alongside with the dream idea, Saul is having a dream of this interaction. And of course, he confronts him. And we know that later in the show, it might be a perfectly cut audio, but David does say that God chose him. Because Saul says, "Did Samuel choose you?" But then David says, "No, it was God." What is my problem with this scene? If this is the scene where Saul does throw the spear, we're just told that he was playing for the king and he was thrown a spear, he dodged it, and he ran away. And then from there, he was kind of... This sort of confrontation between Saul and David doesn't feel like a characteristic from David, somebody to confront Saul. Because the Bible is just full of the example of how much David respected Saul. He was the king of Israel at the time. When he even had the chance to kill him in the cave, he didn't do it because he was chosen by God. And he respected that choice. And he let the course of his life determine his end at the end, how he died. But he never did anything to harm him or to end his sort of reign over Israel. And so this sort of, we could say, confrontation works for the show. But it really somewhat, it pushes me to think, why couldn't they just go with that, showing his humble side more than his more brave or courageous side? Because he does have that, and he gets to show it in other scenes. I feel like showing it in this scene was a missed opportunity to actually just showing him being sort of humble, or being that sort of king Israel needed. Because here's the thing, right at the top of my head, I think this scene would have played out better if David would have shown that not humility, but that sort of softer tone to Saul, even though Saul was possessed. But maybe here in the show they could have done this scene. I don't know if they might reconsider, but having him say, "You're still king, but yes, I was chosen," admitting to it, that's in itself going against what the Bible said, but playing it in a way where Saul agrees, but yet he still doesn't want to just stop being king, and so he goes forward into trying to kill him. Sort of having that creative liberty where maybe Saul understood that it made sense he would be the next king, or saw that it made sense for a couple seconds, and just have him contemplate that before throwing the spear. I feel like that's something that would really nag at the audience, because me, as someone who read and actually was cheering for Saul from the beginning, again, I'm basing my comment on the other shows I've watched where they really deep dive, and especially in some books that they do deep dive into Saul's life, and you get to see him as a humble farmer's boy and then become this king. It really shows that this man has gone so far to, why did he mess up? Why has he changed so drastically for evil? I feel that if the show would have maybe showed a past, or like a memory of Saul before he was king, and maybe just cultivate that sort of appreciation for the character, we would have had that sort of like, oh, are you on Saul's side or on David's side? Of course, many people are going to say David's side, but understand that Saul still had that humbleness in him, but it was very just lost in himself. It was very compressed or pushed away with all the evil spirits he had. Another thing that I didn't see is, I don't know if they might continue, or maybe season 3 might be the season where Saul dies and everyone dies, and we get to see again the mystical or witchcrafty scenes that had the first season. That is also something interesting that I learned. Even the term the seer was something I learned from the show. I know how uneducated I am of myself, but hey, I learn every day. I think that's a missed opportunity if they don't do it, but other than that, I love it because it gives me a lot to talk about. Like I said, I wasn't expecting it to be this long, but yeah, October 5th, House of David, Season 2. I'll definitely tackle that one, and who knows, Lord willing, I'll be maybe publishing both seasons of House of David in a couple months. And like I said in previous videos and in many of the others, thank you for watching. You guys have a blessed day, and I'll see you in the next one.